In this session, we are going to see the REST API, especially the two methods get and post. Before moving on to further, we'll look into the session one summary. So first, we have to install the virtual environment for a Flask. After that, we can run an app, and then we did some basic routing, simple hello world and all. How do we activate our first of all, we need to install virtual environment. If you are on a Mac or Linux, then you have to use this command. If you are running on a Windows system, then you have to use this command. To activate the virtual environment, we have to use this command for activating VNV part. Let's navigate to the directory. After that, if I'm running on a Mac, I have to activate the virtual environment. If you have any installed virtual environment, you have to run the first command. First, we'll check what are the directories are available. One is VNV folder, virtual environment, and then we have created app.py and we have readme.md. And other two files, one is for REST client extension that we are using to run the or to call the APIs. This one will be cache. So let's activate the activate the environment. After that, you can check which Python to ensure that you are inside the virtual environment, or you can able to differentiate with the prefix or the VNV environment part. Once done, then what we can do, we need to install Flask because we have already done. So if you want to list out what are the dependencies that we have installed so far, so we can use pip list, see what are the dependencies that we have already installed. So we have installed two packages, I think. No, only one package. Flask and the related packages are the related dependencies for Flask that is already installed by default. Okay, then we can run the Flask app. If we are having the file name as app.py, then we can directly straight away run Flask run. But if we do not have app.py or wsga.py, then we have to explicitly specify the parameter hyphen app and the name of the file. And let's say if you are in a development, then you wanted to detect the code changes, then we have to pass the hyphen debug mode. So for now, we are going to run this debug with a debug flag. Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, perfect. So now the debug mode is on, and also it's running on the port 5000 as it is. The default port. If we want change, we can change the port as well. We'll do that later. But for now, we'll keep it as simple. And we'll open up the HTTP file to check everything's okay. So we'll see what is the root route. The home route we are just returning welcome to sdev. Let's say we'll just click on that. We'll check and ensure that is running as it is. After that, we'll check the second API. Sorry, second API. We were talking about dynamic path parameter and then query parameters. So this will be the dynamic path parameter. So all the dynamic path parameter we can access the variable with the tag format, and we can access via the function arguments. Okay. Now let's run that as well. We'll see whether it is coming as it is. Good to go. Okay. Now, as we know that, I mean, we were talking about the default method that we are using for calling the API is get. Let's say if you want to use post method, we'll separate it by hash, and then we'll try use post. Then let's keep that s/n/2.1.x quick start as well. But if I'm trying to run this part, yeah, as we knew that the default route that expects only get. Let's give a try. What it clearly says that method is not allowed. What is mean by method here? Method is here post. So let's say if I change this back to get, then it will work as it is because we were supporting get. So the default method in the Flask is get. Okay, so let's close this part and go back again. Okay, how do we do that now? So in route, if you notice here, there is some options. Okay, so if in the methods parameter default get as an array. Okay, if you want to specify, then we have to specify the options. Let's pass the parameter methods equal to, so we have to support both get and as well as the post. Okay, perfect. So now let's see. Yeah, so now it's working. Oh, sorry, I have to change back it to post. So now it's working for both get and post. Now how do we access the method? So we have a Flask, and then we can also access request from the Flask module. Then we'll try to print the request post this method, then something. Let's print the method. Okay, and we can also return it to the front end to see. Okay, let's see. If I calling with post, then it is written as post. If I calling with get, then it written as get. Simple. So here, but most of the time we might it's a tedious process to keep all things in one file, because along the way the project grows. We might have to move it to different folder and then access via class, or we have to move the definition separate page. So we might using Flask RESTful extension or the dependencies to make this little more easier. For now, let's explore some of the data supported by request parameter. So let's again, whenever we are doing something, we'll just go to the actual documentations. Okay, so we are in the right place. We'll go to project, then we'll try to see the routings or routing. Let's go back to the routing. Okay, quick start. So we have already tried. So into method we have already tried. If you want to pass the dynamic path parameter as a type, if you specify the type, then that accepts only the type. If that type is not matched, then it will return the 404. So I think we have explored that part already. So dynamic path parameter is handled. We will not focus on the, okay, so we are in this part. So we can pass second argument. Okay, first before going further, let's say if you want to know more about the parameter that are using. So if you hover on the function name or the method, it will give you the options which are available. So let's say here in this case, there is a rule is a string, so that the rule, that is the path parameter, I mean the argument. And then other things are keyword arguments. Thus there is a keyword arguments that we can pass. So this is a keyword argument, we are passing it as an array. Now, and they might have also in the document, they might have specified what are the default parameter that is passed. So methods as a parameter that they are keeping it as default get. Okay. Let's say if you want to explore further, you can click on that link by using control or command. If you're in Mac, then you have to press command. If you're in Windows, you have to press on control. Because I'm using VS Code. In your case, if you're using Atom or some other editor, feel free to check the key mappings, and then you can click on that. Most of the cases it will be control click, it will navigate to the part. So here you can able to see the definitions. For even for any other cases, let's say if you are going for, if you want to know about print, you can go here. So we are passing it as values, and then it will do some stuff. So basically, most of the time you will have the documentations. Let's say if you are in a Flask, then if I click on control click, then it will explain what are the configurations that can pass. Okay, we will go back to the topic. So yeah, if it is a post method, then we'll do the login. If it is a get method, we'll just return the some simple message. Let's say If it is a post, then we'll do something like return status one success. Let's consider username, password. Okay, before move on to this two part, then we will focus on the other thing. Oh, what is wrong with this? I forgot. Okay, done. We'll check it. If it is a get method, then we have to pass it as, let's say, method. If it is a post method, let here also. Okay, so this will be post success. This will be get success. This is our own convenience. We need not to worry much. Let's say if it is get, then we are getting a get success. If it is post success. Okay, perfect. Now we have some of the methods are available in request. So we'll go to that as well. We'll go back to the document, accessing the request data. Okay. Third, request.form is there. As suggested, request.arguments are there. Request.files are there. Request.files again. Request.cookies. Let's see any other things are available. Okay. Now we'll explore one by one. So in this case, request.form. So let's print all the thing. Request.form. Nope. Request.args. Let's see. Are there any values? Request.json. We'll try to see what is happening. Let's say this will not work for post method. So I mean, sorry, it will not. Sorry, it will not work for get methods. It will work for post. So how will we pass? Again, we are using here REST client extension. If you does not know where to find, you can go here and then find REST client. Okay. Here they have suggested if you want to multiple requests, then you can split delimiter with triple hash. So that is what we are doing. For each separate request, we are keeping it as triple hash. This is an extension that we are using. So if you are using different extension, just go to that document and then just it as needed. Okay, if you want to access the variable name, we have to use double curly braces. That is what we are using for host, because we don't want to repeatedly doing this host part, because if later if you want to change the port number to 5001 because you are running more than one server, then or running more than one API, and then you might have to run it with a different port or different IP address we want to place, then it's very hard to change all the places. So we'll keep it as a variable, and then we can pass the data. Okay. And we are storing it as .http or .rest for convenient. .http is convenient. Keep it as it is. So we'll check. Yeah. So this is a post method that we are trying to do. So there is a post keyword and then followed by the URL. And then we might have to specify the data type. So we'll just specify the data type in our case. So we are just mimicking what data has to be passed to the post method. But in real time, what we will do, we will have the form in the web. Either if you're using React, and then you will with the React you will do, or if you're using some other languages, Angular or simple HTML, JavaScript, jQuery, or some sort of things, then you might have used in the form, and then you have to collect the data and then call the API. For now, we are mimicking here. Let's say, okay, perfect. Yeah, we'll run it again. We'll go back to this part. We'll mimic it. We'll run it as it is, but if you go to console, then we can able to see. Okay, request.form, mutable multi-dictionary. It's empty array because we are not passing form data. We are not passing arguments. We are not passing any values. Oh, uh, uh, and we are passing as a JSON, content type as JSON. So JSON we are able to access. So here we are passing as an object or dictionary. If you're on the front end part, then this one you might call it as object. In a Python side, you will call it as dictionary. Doesn't matter how you are remembering, but at least you can relate what is that related to. If you really wanted to know more about the data types, then we will have different sessions on that part. For now, we'll just consider this is a dictionary. It will have the key value pair. If it is an array, then it will be index and value pair. Okay. So let's, how do we, so now we know that how to access the data. Request.json, it will return the dictionary. Now, let's say if you want to access, for now, I'll just keep it as form data, request.json. Okay, we'll just keep it as JSON so that it will be for now. Then we'll try to print the name of the, we'll first print the JSON data and then we'll print dot name, print age. I hope we are these two. Okay, perfect. Now we'll try to run it again. Okay, so here we are not running anything. Yeah, perfect. So JSON data came as it is, and then we can able to access with square notation with the key. Okay, let's say, what if let's say I have something called hobbies, swimming and reading. Let's say here we are running again, and if you go here, you will have three data, three key value pair, name, age and hobbies. But whereas in the printing part, we have printed only name and age. Okay, for now what I'm gonna do, I'll remove the age from the data. Then I'm trying running again. Okay, oops, there is some problem with that data. Okay, let's see what does the error says. There are so many lines of errors. First, approaching the error, or identify the errors is more important than just going through all the lines. Okay, first try to look for the known names or file names or variable names that you are aware of already. Let's say here, these are the unknown files. Let's say Python 3.8, site packages, Flask. This is unknown to us. This is also unknown to us. This is also unknown to us. Okay. So this is also unknown to us. This is also unknown to us. Here, if you notice here, this is the file that we have created. Perfect. We knew that there is a app.py inside the folder API, and there is a line number. Inside that there is a doc. We are trying to print something, and it says that there is a key error. What is key here? Okay, dictionary has a key value pair, as we said. So it trying to access key, but does not have there is no key here, the posting data. Let's say if you're noticing here, JSON data contains only name and hobbies. There is no key called age. Now, here is a problem. Let's say if you are trying to access some optional variable, or let's consider we'll bring back to ages, and then we'll remove the hobbies. Okay. Let's consider name and ages are mandatory and hobbies are optional. So here, hobbies. Now we'll run it again. Then I will give you a minute, a second. You think about it. What problem will what error we will get? So we are trying to access hobbies here, but there is no hobbies passed here because it's optional value. Oops. Okay, I have something else. JSON data done. Run it again. Fail to. Okay, sir, I have a comma at the end. Yeah, we got the expected error. So one way to learn any languages, first try to take an example. After that, you make mistakes in that example, and then try to see what kind of error that you are getting, so that you are doing the reverse processing. Then you can able to identify. Let's say in future, if you whenever you see key error, you can immediately say that, okay, there is a dictionary, you are trying to look for some key, but that key does not exist in that variable. So this is the variable JSON data. There is no key called hobbies. Where is JSON data? That is coming as request.json in the post method. Okay, simple. So now how will we do this? So one way to do this, let's say if a particular key, what is a key? But key is hobbies. So hobbies in JSON data, then now we'll try to print. Now we can just put in else case, we will print as hobbies. Will just specify no hobbies. Okay, let's go back to this and then run it again. Okay, so now there is no error. Perfect. So whenever there is no hobbies found, it will return as no hobbies. Okay. So this will be one way of doing this. And is there any other alternative way to access the optional value? Yeah, yes, we have. So it's a very big one. So it's very difficult to put every time if else. So if you want to safely access the same thing, we can use get function. So let's say let's print then hobbies, get of hobbies. Perfect. So this will be the key that we are looking for, and this will be the default value. So now let's say if you want to pass any the default value, then you can pass it as a second argument. So let's go back again and then we'll try to check. So now we'll get the same exact result. To check the let's say if you have a doubt whether it is saved properly or not saved properly. So whenever you are saving here, I'm pressing Control S. So if whenever the files are changing, it will detect the changes. Sometimes if it is stuck, then what you can do, you can press an enter. If even that does not work, what you can do, you can stop the server by pressing Control C. Then again run it. After running it, then you can run it. I mean, run the call the API again. So we got the same thing. Still, if you have any doubts or some sort of things, what you can do, you can just add some other keywords in front of it for a testing purpose. For now, I'll just add something. Okay. We'll put sad face. That will be better for this. Good. So now we'll see. We got the we are using the get method part. So one content type is application bar JSON. Now let's move on to some other type. Let's say form type or some sort of things. Content type. We don't want application for multipart.form data. That request again. We'll see the different content type here. Content.json, good to go. Other parts and application bar JSON. Most of the time we are going to use application bar JSON. We are not gonna use other areas. Okay. Up again XML we are not gonna use. XML we are not gonna use most of the time. Okay. So we have a content type. We have an image. We have some sort of things. Take simple example. Content type this one. Take this. Now again there is a bad here. What is the problem? It coming quick start 400. Not attempt to load JSON data because okay, so here we are trying to access some JSON, but that does not. Because of that, let's stop that and okay, perfect. So now good to go. So now whenever we are passing it as a URL encoded format, application slash XWW form URL encoded, then we can pass it as a key value pair and separate it by and. So that can be accessed as a request.form part. What is here argument? Let's pass some name equal to no. We'll just put So let's say if you are passing any query parameter can be accessed with request.args. If you're passing URL encoded format, then you can access it with request.form. If you're what is that value here? Yeah, value means both form URL encoded and also the arguments. If you notice here, name and language and also coming, so it will collectively come consolidate and then give it to you as a value. So most of the time we will be using either form or args. I think args we will be used frequently, and before that we might use request.json most of the time. Okay, but some scenarios, let's say some libraries that you are using for some purpose, then you might want it to pass it as a URL encode, and you might have to know what is that. So at least if you know the approach, so let's say you will have a different content type, you can pass it, and then you can pass it as a different pattern. And this pattern is only for REST client. If you are using Postman or if you are using something else, then it will be easier just explore that plugins or the software that you're using, just adapt it. But the idea is that it's a post method. It requires some format that we have to supply it, because we don't want to switch it to Postman or some other software to run this API. So that is why we are just using this one in VS Code. And even in VS Code also we will have other extensions to run these APIs. Okay. Let's see how to access the request.form. So now we have request.form, and then we might have name as a key. So how will we access? So we'll just put here again the same. We will store form data, then form data. Are we getting a username? No, we are getting a name. So name, and then we cannot use this dot get of name. We'll try both the methods. One is the square notation, another one is the okay. So we can just consider this will be a temporarily will this one will take it as a square notation. Okay, to identify. So let's run this one again. So we are not getting any problem with that. Even if you are using get method, you are getting the output, we are getting the value. If you even if you are running with the square notation, you will get the output. But if you are trying to access something with let's say I put and it is 33, then if I'm trying to access with the square notation random, there is no key called random, then you might have an error. Okay, as expected. Yeah, as we said, whenever we saw any key error, whatever the variable that we are looking for, so the variable that we are looking for is here, the variable name is form data. We are looking for the key is random. There is no key random exists inside the form data. So because in the form data we will have only name, password and age. So in this case we will get the error. But if you notice here, problem only with square notation. Problem will not be with get, because we know that get safely check if nothing is there, then what it will do, it will just return the, or I will command these two. Okay, so if you notice here square notation, sorry, I have forgot to change the get method. Yeah, you notice here random get does not have any problem, because if the data is not exist, it will safely return null. In JavaScript or front end, we might have say that null. Here it is none. Okay, so for only the square notation we will have a problem. So we have alternative method. Either you have to check some places like this whether the keys exist in the key is in exist in the form data, then we can print as it is. I hope you got an idea. So in this case, how to access the dynamic path parameter, we have to pass it as a tag. But here in this case, we are not using any extension or any dependencies to handle this. But if you are using any other extensions like Flask RESTful, then we might have to adjust a little bit. Because we are not using any extensions for now or dependencies for now, so we are just using it as a tag, and then we can access as a parameter. Once we have the parameter, then we can able to get the data. And if you want to specify the type, then you can specify it within the type followed by colon. If the type does not match, then it will return the 404. And then if you want to allow more than one method, then you can specify it here, get comma post. The default method is get. Now to access any get method, so request.get method, if you're it will return either get or post or put or delete. So most of the scenario we will be using only get and post, at least for the initial part. Primarily we will be using request.json to access the data, request.json, and then there'll be two ways to access dictionary values. One is square notation, another one is dot get method. Method will have two arguments. I mean, one argument is mandatory. What is the key that you're looking for? The another argument will be the default value. If when the key does not exist, then other things like, let's say if you're having encoded URL form data, as simple as that, the same pattern you can access with either square notation or get method. But I always suggest you have to use get only when the value or the key that you're looking for is optional. If you're looking for the key is mandatory, ensure that you have to use square, so that during the development itself you will know that if some data is missing. Because if you are using get, then it safely exclude, it safely ignores and then move further, correct? So we don't want to do that. So we will do it only when the key is optional. Okay. And let's say if you want to access the query parameter, we have to use request.args. To access the request.args also is the similar pattern, request.args start. So we are just storing to some variable so that we don't want to repeat request.form.args, request.form dot get of random, request.form form dot square notation of random. So we don't want to do that. So that is why we are storing into some simple variable name and then we are just doing it. Okay. So for a content type, you have to specify application bar JSON or application type, application bar XWB form URL included. The same way different types are available. So most of the time we will be focusing on this one, but sometimes we might wanted to focus on the multi-part. For that multi-part, we might have to supply the form image and all. Okay, so for now, to get started with the get and post, it'll be good to go. It is not, uh, uh, you know what to say. Let's say if you want to learn something new, it is more on a practice, and it is not about just following the tutorial sessions. Just you have to do it, go through the official documentation. Before that, always ensure that whatever the version that you are running locally, ensure that you are using the same documentations to avoid the some methods or functions or functionalities might be improvised or might be removed. Okay, so always to cross check. So what kind of version that you're using, because sometimes some version might be support, some version might not be support. Let's say if you're working with the existing project, then you might have, let's say, version 2.0 or 1.1 or some sort of things. So those cases you have to switch it to that version, and then you have to look for the related EAS. I always suggest, whenever you have queries or doubts, always try to approach the actual documentations so that you will get some idea. And if you have any specific doubt, then you can explore the YouTube videos or some other articles, but always refer the original documentations and you try to figure out a way to approach the documentations, because it helps you to navigate frequently. uh, you can easily learn. It is not a bigger deal. Okay, because let's say if you are following up some tutorial, then they might have running on some version, but in local you might have a different version, then you will have a problem. So from this session also, at the time of running this Flask, the version number is 2.2.2. So in your case, it might be less or it might be more. So in that case, videos and tutorials will help you only to get started. But if you know the approach, how to read the documentations for the particular framework or module, then it will be easier for you to explore in depth. Okay. Thank you.